And the activities with Visit AKY, some of those were just concepts. Our suggestion is you all keep the money in there for them, and as they have an event, they come to you all and you all approve it with their budget and what items they were doing. I know you all support downtown, and I know you all support events, so you all leave the money there, and as they come up with an event or need funding, they come to you all, and as a body, you all approve it out of that contingency
So
account.
that way, either Visit Ashland or Ashland in Motion, whichever's doing the event, give us
Yes.
the budget, and then we grant that money.
I think that would be our recommendation
Yes.
at this
So
point.
does that mean,
So that's how you feel about it?
First Friday and everything is on for the summer?
What's the number? No, how much is in the?
What's the number, Celeste wants
Do
to
you
know?
have
I had a question, everything on for the summer with all the activities?
Well, I think what she's saying, depending on what the,
Yeah, as
the
you
budget
plan your
amount is.
activities, or you know what you're gonna do, if you come to us with a budget, we will approve it and then release the funding to you or, Ashland and Motion.
I think what she wants to know is what's the fund that we're creating? How much are we putting into a fund?
That was the idea, just so that I could write a budget for July first for my fiscal year. But if that isn't how it works, and it's just that I have to come before you and ask yes or no.
Because the budget is going to be for actually activities and events, not to
Okay.
fund your daily operations.
Gotcha.
So any events that you have planned, and I know you all plan months out, if you would, you could meet with me and then show which ones you have planned, and we could go take them in front of the board the next meeting,
Okay,
and then we could go from there.
okay, so I'll go ahead and make it in
Yes.
the budget, and it can also be like, something that says in our budget for the board, this is privy to the.
And as you all do in the future, as you all do the special events request, we'll send the special events request to the board to approve the budget for it. That way, it's funded way in advance of your actual event.
So are we gonna fund like a dollar amount, set dollar amount, and then they're gonna budget off
Pull
of that?
from
well, it
that.
wouldn't be a
Yeah.
set, it'd be what they would request.
If
Let's
they
say
do,
the
if-
event was 3,000 or 4,000.
Yes,
I get that. How much are we putting aside for the,
we have 117 that we have in contingency.
That helps a lot to be able to
is that a total of something that was already budgeted?
Yes.
But
What's it, Ashland Motion and,
Yes, but the problem with Ashland in Motion, they've budgeted for the same thing she budgeted for when she
Right.
submitted the 117.
right.
Well, I
So-
think that will work.
Will that give you enough?
So are you doing first Fridays from here out, or how's this working?
Well, as of right now, we do the one in June. Our board, we're having a reallocation of the board to get it all together, and then we'll have a meeting on June first that'll let us know. Ashland in Motion, we've been in contact with them on how they wanna do it. Not 100% sure on what that is. We're perfectly happy with doing whatever, like, we're happy with taking it on and making.
Obviously, you all don't make a dime off First Friday. I mean, that's flat out.
It's an expenditure.
Right.
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, as far as right now is concerned, we're doing the one in June, which is gonna be the America 250 and the big car show. And then past that, we have them planned. We have them either planned that we can execute, or planned so we can help somebody from Ashland in Motion come and ask for the money and execute. Because they're already planned, so it's more of a, here's how this works, if that's how they feel that they would like to continue to do those without us, then.
You typically don't do one in July because of summer motion, correct?
And to be clear, the funding that you're all setting aside is 3 times what you normally have. You normally have always set aside 35,000. Her budget that she requested for, both of the events, whoever they decide is going to do them, you all are contributing 3 times what you normally have contributed to downtown and events.
But that's the fund there. If they don't do it, they're not gonna draw it out of there, right?
Yes, and the best part, as accountable to the taxpayers, you all know what the money's being spent on. Because right now.
We know up front.
We have no idea what the money's been spent on. She's never asked for money before, but with Ashland in Motion, we have no idea. We know budgets,
The
audits.
criticisms are not of Visit AKY.
No, that's why I said she's never asked her name before.
They're kind of at the mercy
Yes.
of Ashland and Motion.
So it shows the commission is supporting downtown events, whoever they choose to have them. And then you all know what your taxpayer money's been spent on. And you're all doing that 3 times what you've done in the past, in the pot.
Who advertised for this past First Friday? I encourage, moving forward, we add the city logo to that.
Okay, yeah.
'Cause I saw that and I thought, I'm surprised the city logo wasn't in
Well, Amanda did it before she left, and we don't have a third person,
there. Okay.
so it's just she and I. So going forward, the ones that you see will be.
You both are doing a great job, by the way.
Well, thank you. And it's hard with this too. I mean, there's a lot of things tourism-wise, and we don't want community events to fall. We want to find that balance, and that momentum is so great right now in the city. Like, it's, everything's moving forward, we've got all the cool things that are happening, and, you know, we feel led to make it as good as we possibly can. So we're appreciative of any way that we can make a relationship and be able to help grow and grow events in downtown. So we appreciate it however we can get it, for sure. I'll make sure that that's done.
Appreciate that.
Okay. The next item is, attached are various options for a cost of a living adjustment for city employees.
That's this sheet that you've given us.
Yes. Robin, I think, is provided.
Well, I think we need to do it. I think our employees do an outstanding job, and to be compensated for it, especially with all the rising costs of everything, I'd like to see us do something for our employees.
And this is the cost of living increase. What finance recommendation was 2%, which is below the CPI. The CPI is 2.7. And we need to take into account that our employees did not get the cost of living last year, which was 2.9. So their buying power would decrease 5.6%.
So what I'm encouraged is, thank you, Robin, and the work from finance staff for putting these numbers on paper for us. And I appreciate that it's not going to, that we're going to be able to do this without making any significant cuts in different areas across the city.
We did not touch the Economic Stabilization Fund to do this. Funds. We also did it with the general fund with the garbage truck will not be delivered for 14 months. So we're putting it out. I mean, we kicked it down the road to August, September, but we would pay for it next year's budget and go ahead and order it.
So these are the practical kind of scenarios that we could potentially look at that were drafted by the finance department.
Yes.
My thoughts are this: a high-paid city employee making $150,000 a year gets a 2% raise, he gets $3,000. A worker that makes $40,000 a year, 2% raise, he gets $800.
My proposal was 2% or a minimum of 1,000. And that was
So
to
that's
keep,
what the 1,000 or 2%
yeah, that
means.
keeps the pay scale relevant without messing it up too bad. It gives a compromise, and it helps the employees that are paid less, and it still does the cost of living for someone that, you know, makes more.
Well, if we did 1,000 across the board,
Mhm.
how would that affect the pay scale? Obviously, it would increase each rank in the pay scale by $1,000. But how would that how would that be an issue to the pay scale?
Well, when you look at what employees actually make, when you start to get into mid-level supervision where they're overtime exempt, Tony and I went through some of the 2025 W-2s, where they get overtime, they actually make more than their supervisors. The pay scale, when it was done, was compressed. You actually have supervisors and employees sometimes in the same grade. So you have an exempt employee who is still working overtime but does not get compensated for it. It's figured in their salary when they did the market study. When an employee gets overtime still, some of our higher paid employees are someone's that their base scale is on the lower end. And then when you do a fixed amount, you also have to take into account a firefighter or a police officer that has built-in overtime. You're actually giving them more with them out actually working an hour of unscheduled overtime. So that's why the hybrid was my recommendation. A firefighter on their base pay gets 832 hours of overtime. So they automatically make more than your street worker would.
What about the police department?
Police department work 12-hour shifts.
I know, have you calculated what that is?
It's 208 hours, I think, of unscheduled overtime, Robin. I mean, it's been a while since I've done those.
Is that the fire, police and fire probably do the most overtime, is that correct?
They have it scheduled in their
Scheduled.
work
built
shift.
in.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
It's built into their shift. So when you give a $1,000 raise, you automatically give a firefighter almost $1,700 without them working a day of overtime. And then when you start to look at some of the supervisors, like in the police department, the people in the 12-hour shifts are making more than their captains, lieutenants, and are making more than their captains and majors. So because lieutenants get overtime, and they're making more than the people that do not.
You know, we
That's
have,
why you like the hybrid. I'm
That's
sorry.
why I like
Go
the
ahead,
hybrid, yes.
we have a lot of employees here, and we have a lot of positions here that are probably overpaid. And that I think that when we look at doing a pay scale in the future, pay adjustments, we need to look at certain positions. We also have a lot of folks here that work really hard that don't get what they deserve. On that end, I think that my opinion would be the $1,000 flat rate across the board.
Well, I just hate to see the gap between the people that make the good money and the people that don't. Keep getting wider and wider and wider.
But at 2%, it stays the same. Because you, at $1,000, you're actually giving them more of a raise than you would someone else. And a
Okay.
firefighter gets more raise than someone else.
It's tricky.
Because you look at the actual W-2s,
It's really difficult. I'll give you an example, like, there's only 7 employees that make under 40,000 in the city. The bulk of those are in finance and public services. We have 53 people that make under 50K. So 19% of the city employees make 50 or less.
so that'd be 81% of the city employees that would be getting less than 2%.
That's based on 305 employees.
And this is not a raise, it's a cost of living adjustment. And a cost of living adjustment is
Right.
usually a percent on someone's salary because that is the buying power that they're losing when they go out in the market and buy goods.
I mean,
But I think I
personally,
speak for every employee. I mean, we're all very appreciative. The city's a great place to work. It's been a great place to work for me. So, when I'm telling you these numbers, I don't want you to think, anybody think. I think.
We don't do
otherwise-
longevity anymore, do we?
We do not.
That's a shame.
And that's part of the thing.
That was a real benefit to the.
That was.
That was part of the thing with the comp study, you know, when they did a experience factor, and it messed up a lot of people on the scale. You have a lot of people that are supervising others that their employees make 10, 15,000 more than they do.
We have an issue currently, just frankly, right now, that's in the police department. Is this a good time to talk about it? But there, if you don't care. I was talking about compression, salary compression, and we actually have an issue in the police department now where hourly employees, it's a difficult time to get them to move up because they're actually lose money. Is that, am I
That's
saying that
correct.
correctly?
We just felt that pressure in the last promotional process. Where
And I know I'm talking probably a little bit too soon, that's something that's gonna come to you all, but
With the FOP contract, because what the FOP has requested will actually make them make more than the people in supervision. And we had it in the fire department too, where you had 2 people take demotions to get the
Constant-
overtime back.
Constant struggle.
Oh,
Yes. Now, will the hybrid help that issue then?
Yes, the hybrid will not make that issue worse, because you'll get the people, will get 2% of their cost of
it's not
living
gonna
back.
go away though.
No,
It will,
we will have to probably, when we negotiate the FOP contract, we will have to probably look at some of the management salaries. Because you cannot get anybody to take the test for
Okay,
Test for what?
lieutenant.
Promotion.
yeah.
Nobody signed up to take a lieutenant's test?
What does that pay a year?
that's,
Well, and that's one of the things, when I was a sergeant, I asked that and nobody could tell me. That's why I didn't take it, because nobody could tell me what
I
a
actually
starting.
remember you, I
Yeah,
remember
we
that.
did
you
not,
say
could
that?
not tell me that.
since then, there is a bottom baseline. We worked on that extensively.
And here's something else that's messed it up, is the holidays. The extra holidays that we got. When you have management that gets the 8 hours, and you get the patrolman and the sergeant that's making working the lieutenant working the 12-hour shifts, they got like a $2,400 benefit, and the management got an $800 benefit from it, which it's made the whole scale out of whack. We fixed it where there was a 15% difference between some of them because of the amount of overtime. And these management people in police and fire are working just as much as people out in the street. That's individual people.
Are management employees compensated for their overtime hours? They don't get,
No.
obviously overtime rate, they don't get comp time, they don't get
Nothing.
they don't get to leave early on the day, or?
Nope. They do not.
We need to address that.
Well, I understand Commissioner Ural's point of view on it, but I'm also trying to rectify this overtime and balance. To me, it seems like the hybrid is the better choice to go with.
Well, to me, it sounds like we need to look at the entire scale again.
Oh, yeah.
And it needs to be reviewed, not by anybody from Louisville or Cincinnati or wherever they were at before, but from our in-house folks.
Yeah, I mean,
And comparable
these guys are
not to-
competent enough to do that.
And comparable not to private sector jobs, but to public sector jobs.
It ought to be compared to cities of equal size.
Yeah, exactly.
Our city pays
exactly.
more than Ironton for sure, Huntington, Charleston, West Virginia. Our wages are comparable to Lexington.
Well, that sounds like a job of the finance
We can't
committee we
undo
just
what's been done.
And-
Correct.
talked about.
And some things with our city that you'll find is not many comparable cities of our size actually own their own utility company anymore. And that made a little difference. So when you compare a city, you actually have to not only compare their size, you have to compare their employees, what they manage.
I would propose the hybrid, but we certainly will respect anything that you're all willing to approve.
The hybrid would give the 2% to 19%, 82% of the employees would get less than 19%, or 2%,
Which would be the 1,000.
yes. So,
What
But-
percentage?
They'd still be making more money. The raise would be more.
the raise would not be more, no. Their raise, when you're, the 2%, which is not even CPI, and, I mean, I know I'm sitting here and it benefits me, but if you all want to take me out of it, that's fine. I'm just trying to do what's best for the pay scale in the city. But only 18% of the employees, what he said, the 53 and the 7, would get 2%. Every other employee would get less than 2%.
Well, all right, let's say an employee's making $100,000 a year. What kind of raise are they gonna get on your on your suggestion?
They get 2,000.
Okay. What would the employee get? 40,000, making 40,000, what would he get? 1,000.
50,000 is 1,000.
50,000.
Yeah.
So the $100,000 employee gets a $2,000 raise. The $50,000 employee gets a $1,000 raise. That's what I don't agree with. Because the $100,000 employee doesn't need that raise as much as the $50,000 employee.
And I understand cost of
But-
living, obviously, cost of living for
Cost of
everybody
living, yes.
has increased it, but buying power for someone who makes $100,000 a year is a hell of a lot more than somebody making $50,000 a year.
But when these jobs and these people went to market with these jobs, they took into account education, whether they got paid overtime, if they're required certifications to them. And when you get to the point, if you continue to do this with that, the market will not longer be valid for your water plant operators, your policemen, your firemen, because this study, when you placed them in these salary grades, I know some of them may be wrong, but when you placed them in these salary grades, the study put the water plant operator at what market makes. If you give someone at a lesser grade than that, and they get less than the 2% of the market, you do that for 2 or 3 years, their American Water and people are gonna be paying more of a salary than the city. We paid a lot of money for that
Well, we
study.
missed the longevity pay.
Longevity, taking longevity out was a big loss. You had 2 payments a year, Christmas and vacation time.
Yeah.
You rewarded people that stayed longer. I
Do
mean,
we-
there were a lot
do-
of benefits.
Do we remember what the cost of the longevity was?
No,
Obviously,
I
it's been
wanna-
several
we-
years.
Yeah, it has. I want to think right around 80 or 90,000.
When did
in
it go
6
out,
months.
Tony?
Sir, I'm getting old.
Just curious.
I don't really recall. I do, because that was asked several times. It's right around 85 to 90,000.
Would be more than that
Twice a
now.
year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For what you said of that.
What if we gave a flat $1,000 across the board and then went back to review how this pay scale is administered with you all?
Your thoughts or reviewing the pay scale?
I'll do whatever the commission tells me to.
It was like a 2-year-long process last time.
I don't know that we have the.
That's a painful damn thing to put the city through
And
again.
I don't want to
Yeah.
put anybody on the spot, but let me ask Mr. Murray something. So Mr. Murray was our HR director here for a long time. And you actually, your staff undertook a pay and classification study. What are, you were able to do it in-house. What was the timeline on that? When you all did?
We didn't do it in-house.
You didn't do it in-house? Oh, contracted it out.
I think maybe I'll just mention to
Yeah,
your
yeah.
point, is we typically use percentage because of relativity, right? So that's what I think Michelle Beach is speaking to, class comp.
It's
typically
always
keep
predominantly on a percentage.
The flat rate where she's talking about compression and how that expands over years, yeah, it creates, now we have to do another step, or it can create that scenario. But, like, it'll all work, but the 2% is usually what HR will, or percentage, I should say, whatever that percentage.
What I like about the flat 1,000 versus the 1,000 or 2% is it saves us roughly about 106,000 and some dollars versus the 1,000 flat versus 1,000 or 2%. I think we save that, and then we come back and look at the pay and classification scale.
But we're saving that, but we're giving it to our employees.
Correct.
I think the paying classification study, 100,000 would be cheap for one.
Oh. Let's do another study.
We could probably do it in-house.
If you're unhappy with the one that was made, then you go back to the drawing board in our own in-house.
The last study actually brought
Okay.
the lower level employees up by 15 or 20%. It benefited them greatly.
And there were some errors that finance staff had to go back and take care of too.
Sean and I have had this conversation before. We were on the opposite side of the fence too, so.
Friendly opposites.
Yeah, yeah.
No, because it gives the unions much more money than the other employees. The
Yeah,
unions,
typically pro-union, I mean, yeah, you know, you're looking at, they like a percent. But the best research I could come up with was with some margin of errors, using some AI research I don't know if this matters to anyone, but in terms of the percent in our country, it's about 60 to 80%. Flats 10 to 20, and a hybrid's about 10 to 20 with some margins of error.
something else I
A lot of
need,
your major unions are on percents. American Federation of State, County, City employees, Service employees, International Union, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, International Association of
But all
Firefighters.
due respect, when you got two welders working on the job, they're making the same amount of money.
Yeah,
I mean, whether he's been there 3 years or 15 years,
oh, I'm with you.
they're, and so percent means the
Well,
same.
they want
to
to
each
keep,
of-
I mean, the supply and demand of labor, when you're in a union, you want to keep those rates high, and they typically favor a percent. I'm not going a bit too far on that. The supply
and there's
demand of
another
labor.
legislation that come back with the KRS. We'll have 48 of our employees either have to pay 1% or 2% more to Kentucky retirement. So most employees with the percent or 2% at this will actually end up with a smaller paycheck.
I want to convolute the issue.
That's
further.
why it was my suggestion, the 2%, because at least the people that were doing the 2% would come back to zero. So you'll have a lot of employees, their paycheck will go down in July.
Because they got $1,000 raise?
No,
No.
because Kentucky retirement is taking more than
Wow,
that.
where did I get off track here?
Kentucky retirement is taking more than that. And they even go back and they're hitting tier 1 employees.
Only to a certain date.
Yes.
You guys like to kick it around further
Yeah,
or come back later?
I
or-
think we've kind of hit a wall. I don't know that we're.
Yeah, we need to have time to kind of let that sink in and,
Yeah, I'm all for doing something.
oh, I think all of us are.
I think I'm stuck at a flat rate because when I was an employee here, I saw making $42,000 a year. I saw the folks making $100,000 a year. And when we got raises, I always felt like it was insignificant for me to get a 3% raise and for someone else to get a 3% raise. And their raise was more than my paycheck every 2 weeks. So that's why I've always enjoyed or thought the best rate would be a flat rate across the board.
But it won't be the same across the board because police and fire, due to their scheduling, will make more than the sanitation worker and the street worker.
That's why I'm focusing on the 2% and 1,000.
A fireman would make
But
1,600.
I'm willing to listen to it. I mean, listen to you all.
But you hear the disparity between 100,000 and 50,000, it's double
Oh,
the amount.
yeah, right.
I mean, that's a consequential difference. But I'm not, I think we need to think about it.
I do too.
Study it a little
What
bit.
would it cost if we brought longevity back?
It'd be hard to recreate it
That it would, yeah, for sure.
because it's a thing that you start with somebody's employment. It took 5 years. You didn't get longevity until you worked 5 years. And,
And that's how, with this study, where it was incorporated into it for years of service, that's how some of these salaries, we really are getting compensated for years of service, just not the traditional way that we used to.
But
So when they
also,
done that study, a weight was assigned to the
To
number of years.
experience.
Yeah, yes.
but you also had previous management that you had to have years of experience in the same position. We literally had equipment operators that worked in the sanitation department for 14 years. They went to the streets a month before this study was done, and previous management would not give them the 14 years experience, even though they were in the same grade, the same experience,
Now,
in the
we're
same department.
past
We're
that.
past.
But
I
but a
Past
lot of the
previous
employees,
management,
a lot of the employees did not get their longevity pay or any experience in their salaries because of that. So you have,
I'd have a little hard time understanding how you could really work longevity into it. I mean, I don't
think it
doubt
would be
that there was
difficult
some
to-
experience factor put into it, but boy, that longevity was a major benefit to the employees. It really was.
I would say, the budget that you have in front of you, no matter which way we go, it is a responsible budget, especially for the two primary funds where we're building back our balances. So,
Well, let's,
We can-
Commissioner Martin just said, let's sleep on that
and
and,
I would like to say this, when they done that study, I mean, it's my opinion, just my opinion, there is no really bad paying jobs in the city. I mean, the city's a wonderful.
It's a great place to work.
It is.
100%.
I don't think there's a better place in Ashland to work than the city.
100%. I just want to get that out there. I mean, it's.
Yeah. There's a lot of benefits, and
Wonderful.
particularly the feeling that the workers had toward each other. I mean, it really ends up being more of a family relationship. I mean, I don't think that exists in a lot of employments.
And the pride and professionalism that our staff have.
Pride, absolutely, pride in their work.
First class.
all right, if you all agree, let's move forward.
okay. The capital purchase improvement fund, we deleted the 350 for the police building addition.
On that issue, can we factor in some amount for Brownstead and Bradstead and Carroll to do a cost estimate of what that would be?
We can.
I mean, that way, you could have the work done in the future, and it would be a major step toward getting that done.
We moved the money to build the building for the city building because this HVA system really needs done. When we go to do the bond issue and we reconcile what we're going to do, we can make sure that that is in there.
Well, I think it's clear that the police department has made an argument for the need of the additional space, but we're not where we could start construction, and 350 is not the number.
No.
But we need to figure out what a real number is. And the architect that did the work is the same architect that's on our other projects, so
We will get that
I would
done.
think they could give us some priority consideration.
Do a study.
It's not a study, that's a plan.
plan, study, tomato,
Planning.
tomato.
We changed the
Tomato,
CDBG
tomato.
budget to match the action plan of 887. It's a $12,000 difference from what the committee met, but Jacob didn't know when the committee met what the funds would be, so there's a $12,000 variance.
Well, to do a construction of this nature, you have to have the architectural work done.
Flood wall, we added the cost of the generator, as we discussed. There's 410,000. We utilized the fund balance of 375,517, and we decreased the contingency of 34,483. This will actually allow the operation of the flood wall during power outages.
Can I ask a question now that's on my mind? With the governor possibly lowering the gasoline tax, how will that affect our getting money to pave streets?
Or the road tax.
Yes.
It'll obviously lower it too, but we will obviously adjust it based on what the income coming in is. We never know what 3 months or 6 months will bring, but we'll make sure that we adjust whatever the lower is.
Have you budgeted so much?
Yes,
So are you gonna have to go back and revisit that?
we
Is
will,
the governor lowering the state portion of that?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
yes.
the excise
Instead of
tax for the
federal.
city, because there's,
They said our road funds would be less, but I don't know what.
10%, I thought is what they had requested.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yes,
The money's not there then to pave the streets.
Well, I didn't want to get into that. We budgeted X amount of money, and then all of a sudden, oh, we're not
We
getting
don't
that
have it.
anymore. And
No.
Revisit.
Yeah.
You know, when you go fuel up on a gallon of gas, there's actually several taxes on it, but, you know, it does appear that it will affect the amount.
I'm not able to fill up, but I'll take your word for that.
Utility fund, we, the capital asset request of 500,000 for the 24-inch water line replacement was decreased to 75,000. Barry and I met with Mark, and we think that engineering only will be completed in that fiscal year. The capital asset of 1.5 million for rehab at 26th Street was decreased to 250 for engineering only in fiscal year 27. The engineering only will be completed next fiscal year for the 26th station. And that is the last of the changes.
All right. So now, the ones that you've given us out here,
Replace the pages that you've had in your book.
okay, so we'll have to go back and,
Well, I'd like to revisit the capital fund, capital expenditures and the utility fund capital expenditures. I don't know where we are in those two numbers now.
Okay. For the
I mean,
utility.
you pulled numbers out and adjusted some
The
numbers.
utility fund, we lowered it about 1.7 million.
Oh, it was at 18 million, wasn't it?
Yes, but a lot of that, when we backed out the CSO for the sewer plant, we backed out the projects that we already have contracts for. We were at 3.
That we already have contracts for.
Like, we have a water tank that won't be finished till next year, so there might be 400,000 in the budget, but we already have a contract signed for it. And then we backed out the 10 million for the water line replacement, where we were at 3 million of projects. And out of that 3 million, we backed out the 1,250,000 for 26th Street, and we backed out 425,000 for the water plant. If you look at what
I mean, without the page in front of me,
Robin gave you all one, you have an extra? Yeah,
a current one?
yes. We can go through them one by one if you like.
well, that
You
might
know,
be good.
Water production, we have a new roof for 200,000. We have motorized gate openers and closers for 40. Everybody find the page?
Yeah.
The 24-inch or foot or whatever water line replacement for it basically replaces the piping in the basement of the water plant. We're doing engineering only now, so we reduced that from 500,000 to 75,000. Sludge pumps, 60,000. Control panels for sludge tanks, 50. Some UV 254 equipment for treatment for 30,000, and water softener for 10. That is
So there's no
everything.
changes there, though.
No, that's everything at the water production. Water distribution, the LSID program is part of a KIA agreement that we have now for 325,000. The tank repairs for High Knob at 387,500. I think we've already bid that out. Tank repairs for 55th Street is 550,000.
Why did we reduce that?
I think it's the actual bid. I think they actually.
Okay, well, that's good.
The tank cleaning is 120,000, and we need. This is prior year. We have tank inspections for the tanks that we haven't already done. And we're finding when we get into these tanks that, you know, like the 10,000 you all approved
Well,
this year.
we've got things on here like, we got generators, we've got excavators, we got trucks. You know, all of these items, I don't know, are we replacing them or what?
The excavator and trucks on that new, possibly new.
Yes,
Crew, for the new water crew. For
Yeah, we
laying
talked
the new
about that
line.
last time.
The only issue I have with the.
those have not been approved because we hope to do them.
Okay. The only issue I have with the $10 million water line deal is that's a great start. And I'm all for doing a water line replacement program. But that's $10 million one year. What are we doing the next year and what are we doing? I mean, are we gonna sell $10 million in bonds every year
The 10 million will be over about a 3-year period because we're doing all the work and the engineering in-house. So therefore, we can come out with more lines done. The first year, we already have engineering done on the shelf, so they're out doing that right now. The second year that we have, Barry will do the engineering of the ones that are not engineered.
Well, we've talked about the $1 million that we've been budgeting every year. It's been basically used for repair work rather than replacement.
It has been used for replacement. Because we have a repair line item of about $400,000 we've done these repairs for.
So we did take out the $10 million bond.
I think to answer your question,
I,
after the 3 years, it's gonna be reevaluated.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that $1 million that he's talking about, previous commissions has started, you know, we've continued that on. We will not take that $1 million and invest that on top of the $10 million, correct?
Not unless you all want to.
So that would be basically, if we continued the forecast, the $3 million over that 3 years that could be put in other water utility projects.
Yes, and here's a benefit of doing the 3 million or getting 3 million accomplished next year. Your repair budget will go down significantly
Of course.
because these lines that we chose in the water loss team
Well, you're doing a
are the worst
priority
lines.
based on
Yes.
where you're, yeah.
This water loss team it's actually been a good experience for me, and I've learned a lot. You know, and Davey has been an amazing resource with it. He set up the plan with me with the lines, and when he set it up with the worst lines first. And this list is fluid because we may find a place in the system that's worse than somewhere else, and we'll bump it up to where.
Well, we've got a several-page
Yes,
list
we do.
that is the priority
Yeah.
line replacement.
And they've got it down to a science right now because what
What
was
is the
slowed us.
estimated cost for that list?
You're probably
It was
20, 30
it was,
million.
yeah, it was very high.
Well,
and
that's
yeah, 20, 30, maybe more. But
Yeah.
this idea, the genesis of this idea, in the discussions that I was part of, was trying to get around that curve. Is provide some, and figure out a way and a plan to provide a long-term investment that would allow you to start turning that tide more and more to decrease the repair costs.
Make significant impact.
And the only way that we, when management looked at that, the only way really, from Mark and Barry and Dave to finance and city manager, and the input that I had too, was the only way you could really do that is if you had an initial level of investment in that program, and you prioritize what lines you needed to prioritize so that, you know, whether it be, and part of that was prioritize the ones that are already engineered because they're ready to go. And the engineering cost on that, you're saving because it's gonna cost more now, obviously with inflation, to engineer those than it would have.
And this is what the committee did for the water loss committee?
Yes.
Yes.
That was our ultimate goal, is to reduce the water loss.
Right.
And we've got a two goal thing. We're replacing meters and we're replacing the water lines that are bursting.
So we hope to
And
lower our costs.
I mean, I
our
think that's a good
manufacturing
approach.
Cost of goods sold, the raw water, plus reduce our repairs. That's-
And I think it's a good idea to continue that water loss team because it is gonna be fluid, and as you come up with different areas that might have a need, that they might change in that priority list slightly. You have a list, you make a plan, you try to follow the plan as best you can, but if it needs to be addressed as you go, you can make changes.
And we're also getting to the
Change
point
tomorrow.
where our water meters are 20 years old. So we're getting to the point in the next couple of years, we're gonna have to change out all these water meters again. So there's a lot of challenges with the utility and this infrastructure that we've kind of kicked the can down the road. I can continue. but-
$31 million, $32 million.
32 million, and with the water line replacement and the sewer plant, that's like 27 and a half. And another replacement after the pump station, the 400,000 is a pump station. We already have contracts for that 400,000, and we have grant money to pay for that one. The next one is fire hydrants. We have a significant amount of fire hydrants in our system that are broken. Fire hydrant, the cost of those are going up significantly. So that's why we
We got
chose,
600,000 in
it's
for fire
way
hydrants
higher.
when it
Yeah.
was,
yes,
instead of 150.
because
got-
we were surprised when we did the budget, the amount of fire hydrants that need replaced. So we wanted to put an influx of
We're
that in there.
replacing a lot in Callisburg, aren't we?
Yes, and the only reason we were able to do so is we replaced the water lines, because the water lines had to be, I don't know, they were,
Size critical.
they were
Different
4
diameter
foot, and
or
it has to be
something,
6
wasn't
foot or more.
Yeah.
So we had to put that kind of line in to actually replace the fire hydrants. I think there's like 9, and they actually put, not only replaced in Calixburg, they were able to put new ones in.
That's
So,
very important. And I encourage us to keep that $600,000 figure in there if we can.
water valves. Water valves is another problem with our system. We've not maintained our water valves like we should, and we don't have enough in there, or we don't have the people that know where they are. With this, it'll allow, like when there's an outage or a leak, it'll allow the distribution crew to tidy that off to a smaller area.
In terms of the utility capital expenditures last year, if you take out the wastewater treatment and the water line replacement, it gets it down to what, 4 million or 5, whatever it is. What was the capital expenditure last year?
I can't tell you the exact number, but I did compare the two, and they were very similar. It was a couple $100,000 off. Then the next item is collectors. We actually just put another one in Catlettsburg, and this
What
actually,
are collectors?
a collector will actually, like Citizens House in Ashland, if you have a water leak, I can get the reading through the internet, and my customer service staff can actually call up and tell you why your bill's so high. It'll show daily usage. It'll actually collect all the reads. They don't have to drive by them, and that's an accountant's version.
So it's an electronic
Yes.
system.
Yes.
So, like, if we had a leak in Calixburg, we actually had to send a meter reader up, put the little thing on the meter, and get the report, and it would take a day or two to get back to them, and then the cost of us of going back and forth. So we're looking at those to put them in some other areas of our system to make it more efficient for meter services.
That's critical too.
So too.
Well, if we're consistent with last year and I'm okay.
In the wastewater treatment plant, I think they had 50,000 for an aerator refurbishment, just to try to keep it going till we get the construction done. In wastewater collection, they're doing a lot of valve works and pumps. Meeting with Mark, we have pump stations that require 5 pumps, so we have 3 working. So these are things that could not be put off to next year.
It doesn't look excessive at all,
No,
the
it does
wastewater
not.
collection.
So we went through this twice with Mark and once with Barry, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't overwhelming the engineering department, because they already have a lot on their plate.
Thank you.
How come the rehab on the 26th Street went down so much?
We took it down because when I spoke to Barry, he went through all the capital items after you all had that concern last time. We went through every capital item again. I asked him what he thought would get finished if we started July 1, and he said that the engineering
Okay.
work would probably be everything that was finished.
So that's more realistic then.
The cost of it will be when they do construction, will be more $1.5 million, and that's not fixing the whole station. To fix the station like it should, it'd probably 10 to 12 million. We're just doing the $1.5 million to rehab it. Would y'all like to go over the capital purchase improvement fund capital? Purchase improvement fund capital?
And just by the way, the capital purchase improvement fund purchases
That's
capital
the
for the
9
general
million,
fund.
9,000,004.
Is it not 1.4?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We took the city building HVAC, we made it 1.1 million. We will adjust some back to the police building for design. The city building windows, we have 125,000. The public works building, we have,
There, we may come to you soon with an idea about that as far as where that would physically be built. So
okay.
maybe
The 7 million is a placeholder until we do the actual bond issue, and we'll have more idea where we're going and what our cost will be. That was an estimate, so that could go down significantly.
I think Mr. Corbett and Barry, I think you all think that might be a high number.
Yeah, I concur.
At this,
But that number, the bond issue will be based on what the number of the building is.
Based on what we actually need,
Mhm.
not
Yes.
what's.
Yes.
Yeah, totally forecasted.
Patrol vehicles, we have 3 in there at 266,000. We have a storage facility for the fire department at 350. Chief Alley spoke to you all last time on that. And then we have 450 for an aerial truck payment that we already have a contract for.
And that's what's due next year, then we'll put that in the next
Yeah.
year's budget.
Yes, he thinks that these may come in, one was coming in August, I think one come in October.
Oh,
They seem to
okay.
change when the bill will be complete.
Chief, was three vehicles what you need?
Yes, that'll get us back up to the, where we're supposed to be in the purchasing plan. And, with the 2 that are totaled out that we're in litigation with, and it should come out as that assisting to pay for that too.
Okay. And what's the lead time on those, if, say you ordered them? July 1.
The window of opportunity for the last contract just ended, so, we have to wait for Ford to open that back up again. So I'm not sure what the timeline is on that yet.
Okay.
But it will be I guess it'll be a 27 model.
Okay.
There are items that we need to deal with as part of the budget. We obviously can't do the budget ordinance, but we have consideration for the police and fire and utility pension fund employees. Normally, we've done CPI or what the employees got on that. CPI would be 2.7%.
What's the total number of members of those, of all of them combined?
Is it 30-some, 40? It's significantly dry. I think there's 7 in police and fire. 12.
I had that number at the first meeting.
I think it was 30-something.
Yeah.
I think
So would you all like to read an ordinance or is it an ordinance or a resolution?
A resolution
No, I'm not ready to read
Okay.
an ordinance yet.
for pension fund.
Oh, the pension.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
on the pension fund.
Yes, because we usually send a
I
letter to
would,
them.
Police and fire pension fund, 7 retirees, and, utility 22. I would recommend the CPI for them.
We usually send them a letter,
29, is that what you said?
32 total, both funds. 7 police and fire and 25 utility. We usually ask to read those, because we usually send them a letter with their first pension check in June to let them know what their salary's gonna be for the next fiscal year.
So you wanna read
A resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing a 2.7% increase for all members of the utility pension fund to be paid from the utility fund.
That's the city utility fund, is that right?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Okay, motion?
But we're not doing a cost of living increase for the police and fire.
That's next.
That's next.
We are, I thought you said we weren't. When
No,
we-
he said he recommended that.
I recommend a CPI, a COLA
Okay,
increase
okay.
for the utility pension fund and the police and fire pension fund.
Good, good.
2.7.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
And the next one will be for the
Police and fire.
a resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing a 2.7% increase for all members of the policemen's and firefighters pension fund to be paid from the general fund.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
When was the last time you gave him an increase?
We gave him one last year.
Last year.
Yeah,
didn't
last
Yeah.
July.
you? Always try to take care of these people.
When would you all like to deal with the utility bonds for the 10 million?
Well, we have to approve the budget first before we approve to
No.
authorize those.
Because it takes like 60 days to probably get those issued.
Do we foresee the rate increasing or decreasing?
I say that it'll be stable. Joe said he didn't see any major change when I did it.
I think, when I talked to you all previously, I think the Fed had stayed, so they haven't raised the rate of the Fed prime rate up or down. So, my guesstimation would be the bond rate would probably stay the same too.
What is-
Normally if the Fed rate goes up, the bond market will soften up and will go down. It's, yeah, so.
It'll be a serial bond. It's probably close to 4% if you averaged every year. Every year will have a different interest rate. We do have a bond ordinance if you all would like to do that.
Do you all want copies?
Yeah.
I'm
What
okay
is-
with.
What is this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
The
okay
bond.
with it.
It's been in your all's packet before.
Bond ordinance for what?
For
The 10 million.
I don't know that I'm ready to do that.
Okay.
but It's fine to look at it.
Everybody have a copy to take with?
I'd just soon do it when we do the budget.
When would be a good time to get back with the budget?
Well, the next meeting, I think we were gonna go to the wastewater treatment plant, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody have an issue with having a meeting next week?
I
As
don't,
long
and
as
I'd
it's
like to
after
get, kinda get this
Tuesday.
behind us, I mean, because we're
We put,
coming up on the end of May.
our finance
End of
department's put a lot
June
of
is
work
when
in
we
this.
have to adopt.
I know.
We're okay.
What's good for everybody next week?
Um,
Is it next week,
After Tuesday.
after Tuesday?
After Tuesday.
Wednesday,
It's 2021 or 22.
Have we, with the interlocal meeting,
Wednesday's the 20th.
we were talking about that on the 20th, we're not doing that, right?
That was for the, I think there was a date proposed in June, but there was some other events going on the week that it was proposed
Oh, okay.
that probably needed to steer
What
clear.
about Wednesday, and the 20th?
I'm good.
That looks good. 20th?
The 20th? We can recess this meeting until the 20th at noon.
Driving back from Louisville, so
Oh, okay. You want to put it later on in the
a
afternoon?
little later on in the afternoon.
What would be okay with you?
Sonny, if you're driving back from Louisville, why don't we just push it to Thursday?
Pardon me?
If you're driving back from Louisville, why don't we just push it to Thursday?
Either way is okay.
Will you be here
I've,
Thursday?
I've got a, yeah, that'd be all right.
How
I
about,
go to wrestling match with my daughter and I have 500.
I'm I'm good either way.
We do,
On Thursday?
No, Thursday, possibly, I might, but possibly I might be taking off.
Wednesday at 2.
So let's,
Wednesday at 3 or
Wednesday at
4,
2,
will that
that
work?
give you enough time?
yeah.
Okay.
So on it, well, we have to address the salary chart, the budget ordinance, we'll have to address the bond issue. Susan, what else is on our list?
Second reading of the two pension funds.
And then the,
No,
That's
Well,
what I was
we'll have to deal with those things. We don't have to adopt them all. I mean, we gotta do the adoptions soon. I mean, but it doesn't have to be done on
Well, I mean,
Wednesday.
ultimately, we got by June the 30th, I mean,
But-
to get the budget done.
I'm just a planner, sir. I got a lot to calculate.
I would like to see, once we adopt a budget, I would like to see if our staff could put together a projected 3, 4, maybe even as far as, if you could, at least a 3-year forecasted budget for the city. Kind of like what are our expenses for 3 or 4 years,
Yeah,
or.
the department heads actually, we've actually got a 3-year capital plan.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Operational expenses wise,
Fluid.
that's a little bit
Yeah.
tough, but, we can certainly look at historical data and try to get you something out.
I have auditors starting June 1.
How close are the revenue projections to the actual receipts to date for the current budget year?
Historically, we've done pretty good. I mean, I would guess, I know we tracked that metric years ago, but it was within 95 to 105%. Normally on the revenues, when we look at this stuff, we'll look at 5-year and we'll look at 3-year. And we'll do a weighted average. We'll get a little bit more weight to the 3 years because it's more current. And then we'll discount it a little bit, conservative, because we always want to come in a little bit over on the revenue.
Obviously.
And under
Right,
on
right.
the expense.
Right.
So we've normally hit the revenue target, so.
So we're in line
Yes.
with a 26-year
Yes,
budget.
yes.
Good.
And we have some budget adjustments that we'll need to adopt before the end of the year too. We're waiting, we were just waiting on the fire department. They had
For the good or bad?
there's both. We've received grants, and then there's, our fire truck, the engine just had issues. 20 grand so far.
New or old truck?
Engine 3, old. Still due for a fire truck, I guess.
All right, well, so, no other discussion, then we'll recess till, the 20th, is that right, at 2 PM? Wednesday, whatever that is.
Wednesday, 2
Wednesday, 2
p.m.
p.m.
2 PM.
If y'all have any questions in the meantime, reach out to.
Oh, you know we will.
We're getting there.
Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, guys.